Hello. Road to GH will tell the main events of the movie on Monday, March 24th, 2025. First, Marco was guarding a deeply buried secret, one that tied him to a past filled with shadows and silence. All signs pointed to the unsettling possibility that he was the son of Sidwell and Natalia, a revelation that, if exposed, could unravel carefully constructed facades. Marco's arrival in Windermere wasn't a coincidence. It was part of a larger scheme orchestrated by Sidwell, a man known for his ruthless ambition and cold manipulation. Windermere, with its haunting corridors and legacy of betrayal, became the stage for a new chapter of deception, where Marco would be pushed into the role of a silent pawn in his father's sinister plan. Sidwell, never one to act without calculation, tasked Marco with infiltrating the life of Lucas, a compassionate doctor at General Hospital. Lucas, known for his dedication and his kind heart, was openly gay and thus an ideal target for Sidwell's scheme. The objective was cruelly simple: seduce, entangle, and dismantle. Marco's mission was to win Lucas's trust and love, only to destabilize his world from the inside. It was a plan layered in manipulation, one that could easily crush a man like Lucas, who had built his life around healing others, not defending himself against an invisible threat. As Marco embedded himself into Lucas's world, he played the part of the charming stranger flawlessly. He showed up at the right moments, said the right things, and slowly became a comforting presence in Lucas's daily routine. Their interactions deepened, evolving from chance encounters into emotionally charged connections. Lucas, unaware of the web being spun around him, began to lower his defenses, letting his guard down in ways he hadn't in years. The warmth he felt in Marco's gaze, the empathy in his voice, it all felt real. And maybe, in fragments, it was. Despite the mission, Marco couldn't entirely suppress his own humanity. Each time Lucas smiled at him, each moment of genuine vulnerability they shared, chipped away at Marco's carefully trained detachment. Doubt began to creep in, silent but persistent. Was he truly capable of ruining someone who had shown him nothing but kindness? Could he continue to deceive a man who was offering him something more sincere than he'd ever known? Behind closed doors, Marco wrestled with himself, torn between duty and the unexpected emotions taking root within him. Meanwhile, Sidwell watched with cold precision, analyzing every step. He had no patience for emotional weakness, and any deviation from the plan could spell disaster for both Marco and Lucas. Sidwell's darkness knew no bounds. If Marco failed to follow through, he would find another way to destroy Lucas. The threat loomed, heavy and unforgiving. Marco found himself trapped between two worlds, one ruled by a merciless father, and the other illuminated by the fragile light of something resembling love. As the stakes rose, the inevitable question surfaced: would Lucas recognize the danger in time? Or would he be too lost in the comfort of a new love to see the cracks beneath? His future hung in the balance, and with every step Marco took, the path toward truth or destruction became more tangled. In a world where betrayal wore the mask of affection, only one thing was certain: if the truth remained hidden, Lucas risked losing everything, including the very heart that had once made him strong. Second, after a long and heartfelt conversation, Lucky and Elizabeth found themselves standing at an emotional crossroads, reflecting on the tangled past they shared and the deep connection that had never truly faded. The scars of past betrayals and miscommunication still lingered in the air, but so did the undeniable truth: love had never left them. Lucky, with a raw vulnerability that Elizabeth hadn't seen in years, opened his heart, confessing that his feelings for her had remained steadfast despite everything. He recalled the terrifying moment when Cyrus attacked Elizabeth, how his world nearly collapsed at the thought of losing her. The pain in his eyes, the trembling in his voice, every word revealed a man who had faced the brink of loss and was now desperate to reclaim the life and love he once knew. For Elizabeth, Lucky's confession pierced through the guarded shell she had built over the years. She had carried so much alone: heartbreak, motherhood, and the burdens of her past. But in that moment, she wasn't just a mother or a nurse or a woman haunted by memories. She was simply Elizabeth, standing in front of the man who knew her soul. His words brought clarity to her aching heart. She saw the sincerity in his eyes, the remorse for the time lost, and the determination to make things right not just for her, but for their son, Aiden. Lucky's proposal was not grand or dramatic, but it was deeply personal. He didn't ask for forgiveness, he offered a future. He asked Elizabeth to return home, not just as a co-parent, but as a partner, as the heart of the family he longed to rebuild. He wanted them to live together again, to raise Aiden with love and stability, to give their son the family he deserved. Lucky's voice trembled as he spoke of lazy Sunday mornings, of family dinners, of watching Aiden grow up surrounded by love and unity, not the fragments of a broken past. Overwhelmed by the honesty and tenderness in Lucky's words, Elizabeth could no longer hold back her emotions. Tears welled up in her eyes and spilled freely as she looked at the man who had once broken her heart and now stood before her, asking for a second chance. But these weren't tears of pain, they were tears of healing, of hope. She nodded through the tears, her voice barely a whisper, but her answer was unmistakably clear. Yes. Yes to a new beginning. Yes to rediscovering the love that had always been there, buried beneath years of sorrow and distance. The decision was made not out of nostalgia or desperation, but out of a renewed faith in each other. In that quiet, powerful moment, they chose to let go of what had broken them and embrace what could make them whole again. It was not going to be easy. Rebuilding trust, mending wounds, and navigating a shared life would take time. But they were ready to try, and that alone was a victory. As they stood together, the future no longer seemed uncertain. It shimmered with possibility. The promise of a loving home, of shared memories yet to be made, of Aiden growing up with two parents who had found their way back to each other, gave them strength. Lucky and Elizabeth, once torn apart by time and pain, were finally taking the first step toward a future built on forgiveness, healing, and a love that had endured against all odds. Third, Drew had spent weeks meticulously planning a press conference that he believed would solidify his image as a visionary leader and reinforce public trust in Aurora. He rehearsed every line, ensured every visual was polished, and anticipated every possible question from the media. But what he failed to predict was the quiet storm building just beyond his control, one that would explode in front of flashing cameras and an audience hungry for truth. As the press conference began, Drew stepped onto the stage with confidence, unaware that the very foundation he stood on was about to crumble beneath him. The atmosphere shifted drastically when Curtis and Portia arrived unannounced, walking into the room with a sense of purpose that instantly caught the attention of the press. Without waiting for permission, they stepped forward and presented a damning compilation of documents, recordings, and testimonies. These weren't vague accusations or personal grievances. They were concrete, chilling pieces of evidence that outlined Drew's alleged involvement in criminal misconduct tied to Aurora's finances. What began as a public relations event turned into an unveiling of scandal and betrayal. Curtis spoke with a calm authority, detailing how Drew had used his position to manipulate internal audits and cover up questionable transactions. Portia added to the narrative with grace and precision, connecting Drew's unethical decisions to a broader pattern of deceit. But the revelation that drew audible gasps from the crowd was far more personal and more destructive. In a shocking moment, it was disclosed that Drew had engaged in a secret affair with Willow, the wife of his own nephew, Michael, and further scandalized the public by also being romantically involved with Willow's mother, Nina. The news rippled through the audience like a tidal wave, leaving even the most seasoned reporters speechless. The backlash was immediate and unforgiving. Journalists began shouting questions, demanding explanations as flashes from cameras lit up the room like lightning strikes. Social media exploded with outrage as clips from the press conference were live-streamed and shared with alarming speed. Drew stood frozen, his confident composure rapidly unraveling. He had prepared for applause and admiration, but not this. Not the public shaming. Not the cold, merciless exposure of secrets he thought were buried deep. Panic overtook him. His voice faltered as he attempted to deny the allegations, but the mounting evidence and the piercing stares from the audience crushed any attempt at control. The room felt suffocating. In a moment of sheer desperation, Drew turned away from the podium and fled, pushing past stunned onlookers as he disappeared from view. The man who had entered the stage with bold ambition exited it in disgrace, his legacy in tatters and his reputation engulfed in scandal. In the aftermath, the damage was irreversible. The press conference, once meant to elevate Drew's public persona, had instead unveiled the darkest aspects of his character. The betrayal of family, the corruption at Aurora, and the immoral entanglements with Nina and Willow left a permanent stain that no amount of damage control could erase. Curtis and Portia, though heavy with the burden of truth, had forced a reckoning that could no longer be ignored. Drew's fall from grace was swift and brutal, and the city of Port Charles would never see him the same way again. Finally, Nina was seething with frustration after learning that Willow had firmly decided to move in with Drew, a man whose presence in Willow's life had become increasingly troubling to her. Feeling a loss of control and fueled by jealousy and desperation, Nina sought out Ava, hoping to devise a strategy that would derail Willow's plans. Despite Ava's cautious demeanor, Nina arrived with intensity, determined to find a way to stop the inevitable. Rather than confront the situation directly, Nina chose manipulation. She feigned a serious illness, creating the illusion that she was too unwell for Willow to leave her side. It was a calculated move, designed to guilt her daughter into staying. At first, Ava listened in silence, observing how far Nina was willing to go. But it didn't take long for her to realize that Nina's scheme was not only morally questionable, but also destined to backfire. Ava, ever pragmatic and sharp, warned Nina that this charade was a waste of time. She urged her to come clean instead, to admit the uncomfortable truth about her relationship with Drew. If Willow knew that Drew had crossed a personal boundary by becoming involved with her mother, the betrayal alone might drive her to walk away from him voluntarily. It was, in Ava's mind, the only honest path left. But Nina recoiled at the suggestion, refusing to consider exposing something so humiliating. The idea of confessing that she had once slept with the same man Willow now trusted and admired filled her with shame. Instead of seeing Ava's advice as a solution, Nina lashed out, accusing Ava of lacking empathy and suggesting that the plan to tell Willow the truth was cruel. She defended her actions, insisting that her lie about being sick was necessary, not deceitful, a desperate act of love, not manipulation. Ava remained calm, but the disappointment in her eyes was unmistakable. She had seen Nina spiral before, but this time, there was a new layer of recklessness. Nina wasn't just trying to protect Willow, she was trying to protect herself from judgment, from consequences, and from the unraveling of the fragile image she had worked so hard to rebuild. Her refusal to admit the truth revealed more than guilt. It revealed a deep fear of losing the last shred of trust Willow had in her. Despite Ava's warnings, Nina clung to the lie, believing that time and proximity would be enough to sway Willow's decision. But underneath her forced vulnerability, anxiety churned. She knew the truth couldn't stay buried forever. And when it did surface, because secrets always did, it would not only destroy Willow's trust, but it would shatter what little was left of their fragile relationship. Ava, having done all she could, walked away with a quiet certainty. If Nina couldn't face the truth now, the truth would eventually find its own brutal way out. Get ready as the storm in Port Charles intensifies with every passing episode. The revelation of Marco's true identity as the secret son of Sidwell and Natalia Ramirez is just the beginning of a much deeper and more dangerous plot. Sidwell, a man known for his ruthless manipulation and criminal ambition, has begun to make his move, sending Marco to infiltrate the life of Lucas while using Natalia as bait to get close to Sonny Corinthos. The players are in position, the lies are taking root, and the consequences are about to explode. Viewers will be drawn into a world where trust is a luxury no one can afford, and danger lurks behind even the most familiar faces. Marco's calculated charm allows him to slide seamlessly into Lucas's life, pretending to be a kindred spirit while secretly gathering intel that could destroy everything Lucas holds dear. Meanwhile, Lucas, unaware of the trap being set, begins to let his guard down, forming a connection with Marco that feels safe until it's too late. At the same time, Natalia makes her reappearance in Port Charles under Sidwell's command, using her beauty and history to forge a subtle, emotional link with Sunny. But Natalia isn't just a pawn, she's a woman torn between old loyalties and the dangerous game she's now forced to play. Her feelings are complicated, and her secrets even more so. As the episodes unfold, expect to see emotional confrontations, unexpected alliances, and painful betrayals. Natalia may begin to question her role in Sidwell's scheme, especially as her interactions with Sunny stir up buried emotions. Marco, too, might not be as immune to guilt as he appears. His time with Lucas could spark memories of a life he never had, causing inner conflict that threatens to derail Sidwell's strategy. But Sidwell is a man who doesn't tolerate weakness, and his watchful eye is always present, ready to strike against even those closest to him should they falter. The pressure is mounting, and the lines between loyalty and morality will be pushed to their limits. Meanwhile, Sunny's instincts begin to tingle. Though Natalia plays her part well, Sunny isn't one to trust easily. Small inconsistencies, fleeting glances, and half-truths may begin to raise alarms. Lucas, too, may start to feel that something about Marco doesn't add up. Will they uncover the truth before it's too late? Or will Sidwell's plan succeed, unraveling lives and reputations in one calculated sweep? The answers lie just beyond the next episode, where revelations will hit hard and fast, and no character will be left untouched by the fallout. The drama in Port Charles is evolving into a multi-layered mystery of family secrets, hidden identities, and personal vendettas. Viewers will be captivated by the emotional depth of each character as they face their darkest fears and most difficult choices. The storytelling will weave together the past and present, revealing how old sins are never truly buried. They simply wait for the right moment to rise again. With every new scene, the stakes will grow higher and the tension more unbearable as each character tries to hold on to the people and lives they care about most. Don't miss a single episode of this powerful and suspenseful arc. The upcoming chapters promise unforgettable drama, shocking revelations, and emotionally charged moments that will keep you at the edge of your seat. As truths come to light and loyalties are shattered, the future of Port Charles will hang in the balance. Tune in to see who will rise, who will fall, and who may never recover from the choices they've made. The most explosive moments are still to come, and you won't want to miss them.